What's the mood music like in this market this afternoon?
Carson, look, certainly seeing some positive momentum, I think, picking up into the market. Of course, we followed on from those positive leads this morning from Wall Street, but I think a lot of the focus today has been around that Chinese data and getting that GDP read coming through a little better than expectations, as well as that industrial production really jumping. I think that has provided a boost to investor confidence, particularly given some of the recent soft data that we've had through, and also a lot of concern about a potential slowdown in the Chinese economy. Of course, we have seen that GDP slowing down to about 7.3%, but coming in ahead of expectations. I think that has provided a bit of positivity. We have seen a bit of an uptick in the market. We saw a bit of a turnaround in that materials sector, and of course, as you mentioned, that Aussie dollar really spiking above 88 US cents. So I think that materials sector will potentially continue to drive the market coming into this afternoon. Interesting to note, though, we still are seeing the likes of BC Iron and Atlas Iron coming under pressure, despite seeing that positive data coming through, and of course the iron ore price jumping overnight. We are also seeing some strength in that discretionary sector, and again, that's quite interesting given that that weekly consumer confidence read was down close to 2%, but we are actually seeing 10 leading that space, of course, around a lot of that merger speculation with Fairfax. As you mentioned, though, seeing that financial sector coming under a little bit of pressure, also some of that healthcare and IT stocks as well also coming under a bit of pressure. Seeing some lighter volumes going through, less than $2 billion, so hoping that we will be able to see some more volumes coming into this afternoon, and hopefully we'll be able to continue some of this positive momentum.
Talk to me about Newcrest. They've stuck to their full year guidance, even though some disappointment shorter term. The stock's not being punished.
No, Carson, that's right. It's not being punished, but I think it's a result of the fact that the company has actually previously flagged this. At the beginning of the month, they held that Investor Day, and we actually haven't heard too many surprises out of the report today. Their production was down 12% for September, but as I said, that was really well flagged, and the market previously knew this information. So I don't think there were any surprises. There were some positives, though. We have actually seen their costs being reduced by about 5.5%, and also they confirmed that their costs still do remain below some of those realised prices that they received for gold. During the quarter, we also saw gold prices slightly higher, and of course, as you mentioned, they have confirmed their FY15 production targets, so that's certainly providing some confidence, I think. But as you say, really seeing a bit of a flat performance in that share price today. I think there is still concern from investors in terms of the outlook for Newcrest. We know that over the last couple of years, they really have been suffering. Their share price has been under a lot of pressure. It's been down about 65% or so as a result of a number of downgrades, asset write-downs, and of course that falling gold price as well. So I think there's still some concern, particularly in terms of those falling gold prices and copper prices as well, but also in terms of some of the capex that is required for their future growth prospects coming out of Lihir, and also in terms of that pit development. And I did read a couple of analyst notes as well. I think there's a bit of concern in terms of them being able to make those debt repayments as well. So I certainly think there is a lot of concern seeing that share price trading relatively flat into slightly negative territory today. But as I said, no real surprises out of that report today. I still think the outlook is a little bit concerning.
Aristocrat rallies 2.5% on the news that now it's finishing the purchase of the VGT tie-up.
That's exactly right, Carson, and I think seeing investors reacting positively to that today. We know that they initially announced that back on around the 7th of July, and since then the stock has actually been up about 17%. So investors have actually reacted positively, although amongst this we actually know that they have recently sold off that lotteries business. So of course both of those adding to that share price positivity. But I think overall this acquisition today that they have completed does actually look quite strategic, compelling for the company. VGT is a leading gaming provider over in that North American market, and we do know that part of their strategy is to increase their market over in North America. VGT also has a very strong balance sheet, and we do expect that they will be able to provide Aristocrat with some pretty stable revenues going forward. And also that transaction is expected to be pretty highly cash flow accretive. So we are expecting that the deal will probably provide cash flows of up to about $120 million, and that's going to boost those cash flows by about 50%, and of course will enable them to continue paying down their debt. So overall, I actually think that acquisition looks very positive, and certainly seeing investors reacting well to that today. Certainly do remain quite optimistic on the outlook for this stock in terms of these acquisitions and their scope for these acquisitions, and of course they're expanding our portfolio as well. So has seen a very strong performance in this stock over the last year or so, up about 30%, up about 110% over the last couple of years. So potentially could still see some upside in this stock, as I mentioned, from a result of the scope for further acquisitions.
Great to talk, Leanne. Thank you so much. Have a good afternoon.
You too. Thanks, Carson.